Right. The Hyde Amendment has saved over 2.4 million lives since 1976. Now, it used to be a non-controversial, bipartisan issue. According to the Los Angeles Times, quote, as a senator, Biden was a longtime supporter of the Hyde Amendment and cited his Catholic faith as one reason he backed it, end quote. Well, like many things today, the times are changing, and President Biden is no longer in favor of protecting this measure that prohibits taxpayers from being forced into a partnership with Planned Parenthood. And I want to go back to the Republican leader in the Senate who spoke to this issue earlier today. Play clip 2 of Senate Leader McConnell.
This week, Democrats on the House Appropriations Committee are doing something so radical that it hasn't been done for decades. They are advancing an annual funding bill that leaves out the Hyde Amendment, the common sense prohibition on forcing taxpayers to fund abortion. Since the 1970s, abortion has claimed the lives of more than 60 million unborn children. But at the very, very least, the mainstream bipartisan Hyde Amendment has ensured that taxpayers' hard-earned money is not funneled into this brutal practice. In today's Democratic Party, there is no room to dissent from the far left's culture war, even in the most modest, most long-standing, most widely popular ways. Senate Republicans are going to continue standing up for life, standing up for taxpayers, and standing up for the conscience rights of millions of Americans who don't want the government laundering their hard-earned money to abortion providers.
Well, as I said, for the first time since 1973, that is changing in the House. The House Appropriations passing the measure today without the Hyde protections. Joining me from the Appropriations Committee, Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland, who was a part of a 5-hour debate to try and put the Hyde language back into the labor appropriations bill. Congressman Harris, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Good to be with you, Tony.
So the debate was pretty intense, 5 hours worth of debate. I think all but 2 Republican members of the committee argued in favor of returning this long-standing bipartisan language to the appropriations bill.
Yeah, that's right. We did have one Democrat join with us, so we had bipartisan support for restoring the language. It's an important protection for not only taxpayer dollars, but the unborn. And furthermore, we need to restore the Weldon Amendment, which, of course, is a freedom of conscience amendment.
Yeah, that's actually another important point. It's been there since the 90s. And as a doctor, you chair the doctors, you're co-chair of the Doctors Caucus. You understand what that means. Explain the Weldon Amendment. And let me step back a minute. Let's go into a little more detail on what the Hyde Amendment does and does not do.
What's that, Tony?
Explain for our listeners what the Weldon Amendment does. I mean, we use a lot of these terms, but not everybody understands exactly what they do. So explain that as a physician is very important to you and other medical practitioners out across the country.
That's right. So it basically means that the government can't force you to, the federal government using funds can't force you to commit to participate in an abortion against your religious beliefs or against your conscience. I mean, that's a very important protection, a very basic protection. I'm shocked that the Democrat majority on the committee will not go with that.
So they want to force medical workers to engage in and be a part of an abortion, even though they have a religious or moral opposition to that?
That's right, yeah.
This is kind of hard to fathom, that we're at a place where we cannot even agree that those that have, again, religious convictions, moral opposition to something, that they can't just step aside. I mean, I think ultimately what this is going to do, Dr. Harris, is this is going to force, and I think this might be the intention, of forcing pro-life Americans out of the field of medicine. I think we lost Dr. Harris there. I think the effect of
Tony,
this will be,
Yeah, no,
Can you?
this is so unconscionable. This is something that we just can't. We have to restore this Weldon protection.
Yeah, on the Hyde Amendment, I know you're still in the committee there, and I do appreciate you stepping out to join us because this is just unfolding as we speak. Is there a chance? Is there a chance that on the House floor that we could see this language restored?
No, I think it's going to be up to the Senate. I think it's going to be to Mr. McConnell to make sure that this is restored in the final bill, which the president would have to sign.
I'm pretty encouraged by the comments of the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, who took to the floor. This is the second time he's spoken about Hyde and abortion on the Senate floor. And for the Senate leadership and the Senate to speak to this would suggest to me that he is rallying the Republican senators to oppose any measure that would go forward without these types of protections.
Yeah, the whole bill is being held hostage. And Tony, there's so many things in this health bill that need to be done. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that we are in a dangerous world. We have enemies who will probably produce bioweapons against us. We need defense against it. Those defenses are in this bill. And the Democrats have chosen to play politics with a bill that really threatens the livelihood, not only of the unborn, but the lives of hundreds of millions of Americans.
Have we reached this point in our country where there is no longer even agreement on something that has been, as we said, so bipartisan in terms of its support, that we can't even agree? We can't force people to do something they're opposed to?
Well, Tony, the saving grace is that the majority of Americans, a clear majority of Americans, agree that we should not use taxpayer dollars to fund abortion. So Americans are with us on this. The fact of the matter is that the Washington, D.C., especially the Democrats, are radicalized, especially on the issue of abortion. How radical a position it is to not only force taxpayer funding, taxpayer dollars to use to fund abortion. We just took a vote now to force taxpayer dollars to fund abortions for prisoners in federal prisons. Again, it's gone way too far.
Well, Dr. Harris, I appreciate you joining us, stepping out of the committee to give us an update. What's the sense of the timing for a House vote on this?
Well, in the next 2 weeks, we expect this to come to the House floor in the next 2 weeks. We suspect that, again, we'll vote on the entire bill. I don't think they'll allow a separate vote on the House floor on this, but if they do, I suspect that the bipartisan support will actually be to restore the Weldon and Hyde protections, because there are a few Democrats who realize that that the American people are with us on this. A majority say. And some who feel that abortion should be legal, not like me, but some who feel abortion should be legal, feel that it's not right to force taxpayer dollars to be used to pay for it. Right.
I mean, it's basically 6 out of 10 Americans think that taxpayers should not be forced to fund abortion. Dr. Andy Harris, as always, great to talk with you. Thanks so much for taking